My girl, it makes me real glad to see you settling into that apartment I gave you. Grandpa sat there smiling like he always does at Sunday brunch, lifting his mimosa like he was toasting just another sweet family moment. Everything stopped. I could feel it in the air, still as a lake before a storm. I froze with my glass halfway to my lips. The orange juice went down rough, stinging my throat. I could feel every single pair of eyes land on me. Mom looked puzzled, her lips half open like she wanted to say something. My sister finally looked up from her phone. Dad dropped his fork, and it clinked loud against the plate like a gunshot. My pulse pounded behind my eyes as that silence got real thick. I dropped my gaze, wiped my hands on the napkin in my lap, then stared straight at Grandpa. I live in a basement, I said, real quiet. Grandpa's grin faded a little. What do you mean? I said louder, steady now. You never bought me no apartment. My voice held firm. I was not about to fall apart, not here, not in front of everyone. The room dropped into one of those thick silences that settle into your bones. Come again? Grandpa asked, blinking real slow. Before we dive in, I said, drop a comment and tell us where you are from and what city you are watching from. Then, after the whole video, let us know what you would have done in my shoes. Be honest now. I read every comment. The table felt like it shifted. My mom reached for her coffee, her hands shaking enough to send a drop sliding down the side of the cup. My sister stopped chewing. Dad gave a cough and grabbed his water like something caught in his throat. Maybe now is the time for truth. I looked around the table. You never sent me anything, Grandpa, I said again, my voice like steel. I have been living in a windowless basement for 4 years. The only thing I have ever gotten from this family in the past 10 years is silence. Grandpa blinked again and pushed his chair back just a hair. I wired the money to your dad 4 years ago. He told me it was a surprise gift for you after graduation. My mouth went dry. A chill crept down my spine, but I kept breathing. Dad's face looked like all the blood had drained out of it. Mom slowly turned toward him, her voice barely a whisper. You told me you found her a cute place downtown. Dad, I said, locking eyes with him. He shifted, uncomfortable. I meant to, no, I cut him off. You meant to keep it. Someone at the table gasped. Grandpa leaned back in his seat, knuckles tight against the edge of the table, his jaw clenched. He looked like someone had punched him in the gut. I sat up straighter. My voice was calm, but sharp like broken glass. You told me to work harder. Said I needed to stop expecting handouts. All that time I was cleaning strangers' floors while you held on to money that was meant to give me a chance. The air turned heavy, thick like soup. I stood up. My hands shook, and my heart was racing. I had not planned to say anything today, but since we were celebrating birthdays, maybe it was time to stop pretending. I walked out. Chairs scraped back behind me, footsteps shuffled. But I kept moving. Out in the hallway, it was quiet, but inside me was a different story, pure fire. I could still feel their stares behind me. The shock, the guilt, the shame, right where it belonged. I did not cry. Not this time. As I hit the parking lot, I heard fast steps behind me. Kayla, wait. Grandpa's voice called. I turned. He looked older than he had 20 minutes ago. The smile was gone, replaced by something raw. Real sorrow. You really never got the apartment? I shook my head. I have been renting a basement from a woman who smokes so much the walls turned yellow. There is a boiler next to my bed. She only takes cash because she does not trust banks. I have eaten dinner on the floor more nights than I can count. He swallowed hard. Your father told me you did not want help. Said you were trying to be independent. I looked away. I asked him for a job lead once. He told me, and I quote, "Try flipping burgers first. Builds character." Grandpa lowered his eyes. He said you were ungrateful. That you moved into your dream place and never even thanked him. A bitter laugh escaped me. I did not know I had anything to thank him for. Grandpa rubbed his hand down his face and let out a long sigh. I trusted him. I said nothing. The silence stretched, but it did not weigh on me. Then he said something that caught me off guard. I want to make this right. I crossed my arms. How? I want to see where you live. My head snapped up. Why? Because if it is really as bad as you say, and I believe it is, then he stole from both of us. And I am done letting folks lie to me. That night, I drove Grandpa to my place. He was quiet as we walked down the cracked steps to the basement entrance. The porch light flickered as I unlocked the door. A wave of old smoke and damp air greeted us. I stepped aside. Welcome to my palace. He stepped inside, looked around real slow. Saw the second-hand couch, the leaning bookshelf, the yellowed ceiling tiles, the tiny bed beside the washing machine. He stood still a moment, then sat on the edge of the bed and let out a breath so full of sadness it nearly cracked me. You have really been living here? I nodded. Since I finished college. His eyes got watery. He said he was saving the rest for your wedding. I thought that made sense. There is no rest, I replied flatly. You gave him $70,000. That money vanished the minute he got it. Grandpa looked down at the floor, then back at me. Not anymore, he said. Tomorrow, we go to the bank. And a lawyer. Then your dad and I are going to have one serious talk. I did not smile. But inside, something shifted, like glass cracking. The next morning, I woke to burnt coffee and Grandpa on the phone. I do not care if it is Sunday, Howard, he barked. Get the paperwork. I want every transfer traced. Every cent. And I want you to write up a letter that says Daniel Whitmore is no longer authorized to act on my behalf. His voice was sharp and cold, different from anything I had ever heard, even when my dad crashed his truck in high school or Mom forgot his meds. I stood barefoot on the concrete floor in the hallway, listening. Something inside me stirred. Something long asleep. By noon, we were downtown in a polished office. Grandpa had pulled strings to get in same day. The banker, a woman in her 50s, clicked through her screen. Her lips were tight. Yes, I see the transfer, she said. From Mr. Whitmore's account to Daniel Whitmore, marked as a gift for Kayla's condo. She turned the screen. The date, the exact amount. Grandpa was telling the truth. Then she clicked again, and my heart dropped. 5 days later, Dad had moved the money into a private investment account. No mention of me. No note. Nothing. My fists clenched in my lap. Grandpa stared at the screen, his voice calm. May I have a printed copy of that? Of course, she said. When she stepped away, Grandpa turned to me. He betrayed both of us. This is not just family trouble, Kayla. It is theft. I nodded. Do not worry, he said. I will take care of it. No, I said quietly. We will take care of it. That afternoon, we drove to my parents' house. I had not been there in years. The same place where I used to bake cupcakes with Mom. Where Dad taught me to ride a bike before he stopped answering my calls. Where my sister threw a party the week I moved out and left my stuff on the lawn. Grandpa rang the bell. Dad opened the door, looking surprised and irritated. Then his eyes widened. We need to talk, Grandpa said. I am a little busy, sit down. Grandpa did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Mom stood nearby, tense. My sister peeked down from upstairs. We all sat in the living room. Grandpa placed a folder on the table. Dad refused to look. Then Grandpa laid it out plain. You told me Kayla was living in that apartment I bought her. The money never went there. You took it. You lied to me. You lied to her. Dad gave a nervous laugh. Come on, Dad, you are overreacting. She has been living in a basement, Grandpa snapped. Eating on the floor. Working 2 jobs. You were sitting on money meant for her future. I was holding it for her, Dad said. Do not, I interrupted. Do not lie again. You called me lazy. Said I was entitled. Meanwhile, you were hoarding the money that was supposed to help me. Dad's jaw tensed. Grandpa opened the folder and slid the documents to him. Howard and I are ready to take legal action if we must, he said. But you will repay every cent. And at our next brunch, you will explain yourself to the family. No more secrets. Mom whispered, Daniel, is this true? He said nothing. Grandpa looked at me. You will move in with me next week. I already called a realtor. We will find you a proper home. I glanced at Dad one last time. He could not look back. The man who once said, you will never make it without me, looked like a shadow of himself. I did not feel triumphant. I felt free. And that was better. That next Sunday, brunch happened at the same spot, same table, same people, but nothing was the same anymore. I was not stuffed at the end of the table this time, sandwiched between a mismatched chair and an ice bucket. I sat up front beside Grandpa, right at the head. His hand rested lightly over mine while we waited for folks to show up. When my father walked in, he looked like 5 years had passed in 1 week. The usual fake grin was gone. My mom stayed close to him, face tight. My sister wore sunglasses indoors like she did not want to see what was coming. Grandpa stood before anyone could pretend this was a regular Sunday meal. His voice was strong, clear, cutting through the room like a bell. I will make this short, he said. I brought everyone here because I found out something serious last week. 4 years ago, I gave money, my own retirement savings, to help Kayla start her life after college. I was told she received it. I was told she was doing well. He turned slightly toward me. That was a lie. The room went still. A server stopped mid-pour. I looked up, felt that sting behind my eyes again, but I held it back. This was not the time for tears. Grandpa went on. Daniel took that money. He invested it. Hid it. Then stood by while his daughter struggled, made her feel small, lazy, and undeserving, while pretending he was the good guy. The relatives started murmuring. My aunt gasped. My cousin blinked, slowly catching on. Dad shifted in his seat like the cushion had turned to fire. Grandpa turned all the way toward him now. You betrayed both of us. From this moment forward, you will not touch another cent of my estate. Not one. Everything, every trust, every asset, is being restructured. You lost that right. Then Grandpa slowly pulled a folded paper from his coat pocket. He placed it down in front of Dad. I want you to read this. Out loud. Dad stared at the page like it was toxic. Now, Grandpa said, and his voice left no room for argument. Dad's hands trembled as he opened it. And when he read, his voice cracked with every sentence. To my family, I stole from my daughter, Kayla Whitmore. I took funds meant for her future and lied about what I had done with them. I betrayed her, my father, and the trust of this family. I accept full responsibility and will return the entire amount within 6 months. I am deeply sorry. When he finished, the room stayed silent. No applause. No gasps. Just one long breath from everyone at the table. For the first time in years, I looked at my father and did not feel small. I felt seen. That night, back at Grandpa's house, we stood together on the porch beneath a sky full of stars. "I still cannot believe you never asked for anything," he said. "I was done asking," I replied softly. He nodded. "I am sorry I did not check sooner." "I am not," I said after a pause. "Because now I know who is really in my corner." He gave me a quiet smile. "You are not going back to that basement." "I know. I already found you a place," he added. "Downtown. Real windows. Hardwood floors." I laughed. "Sounds like a mansion already." "You deserve it." Maybe I did. But more than anything, I deserved to stop clawing my way up from the bottom. The new place had floor-to-ceiling windows. The first morning I woke there, the sunlight poured in like it had been waiting just for me. No landlady yelling through the walls. No boiler groaning beside my bed. Just quiet. Peace. I sat on the edge of a real bed, not a beat-up futon, and stared out over the skyline. I was not used to seeing the sky like this. I was not used to feeling safe. That day, I pulled out something I had buried long ago. My old laptop. I dusted off a folder I had hidden behind resumes and bills. It was labeled Designs. Inside were sketches, layouts, pieces of the dream I once had before the world convinced me I should settle. Before my dad looked at my work and said, "Cute, but when will you get serious?" Well, now I got serious. I applied to design firms. Joined freelance networks. Built a little online portfolio. I used the money Grandpa gave me not just to survive, but to build something real. Weeks passed. Then months. One afternoon, I got a call. A local architecture firm had seen my work. They were launching a new housing project, needed someone who understood creative use of small spaces. I smiled. "I have lived that," I told them. When I walked into their office, I wore that same beige coat my mom once called childish and cheap. The receptionist offered me water. The creative director offered me a seat. By the end of the meeting, I had a signed contract in hand. It was more than a job. It was proof. Proof that I was never the failure they made me out to be. That living in a basement did not mean I belonged beneath anyone. A few months later, it was my turn to host brunch. Not at a restaurant. Not in someone else's house. Mine. Real plates. Real smiles. Real sunlight pouring through the windows. Grandpa brought flowers and set them in the vase I bought with my first paycheck. My cousin, the one who used to roll her eyes when I talked about art, leaned in to ask about mood boards and color palettes. Dad was not there. He had not come around since the day of the letter. He paid back the money. But the apology stayed on paper. And that was fine. Some people's absence is the best gift of all. As I passed around fresh scones, I caught Grandpa looking at me with a gentle smile. "This," he said, "this is what I pictured." I reached over, touched his hand. "Me too." Subscribe and like. And tell your friends about this video.